Everybody, my name is Mary Lee Burnett. I am your astrologer, back with the messages for the week of November 11th, 2024, which means we are past at least some of the election chaos. And of course, November 11th is Veterans Day. So thank you to all who have sacrificed and served and protected us. As we move through this week, know that there is a lot of unsettled energy still. And I think we have a lot of unsettled questions around the election still, potentially. Of course, I'm recording this before the week happens, so who knows what will happen before this is actually posted. I always tend to update my comments if something crazy does happen. And I do expect some crazy to go on because of the full moon that happens in the sign of Taurus with Uranus, which creates shakeups. The earth could be shooken up. That's definitely a possibility as well. And we're looking at yet another late hurricane here in the United States. So that's definitely going to land and cause issues with the earth. So let's break it down day by day. But of course, before we do that, if you're new to my channel, please click on that subscribe link below so that you get notified every time I put out new content. Last week, of course, we talked about the election, the possibilities for both sides, how it really could be a toss-up for both sides. It was very interesting even just to look at how connected the two candidates were. So I don't think their connection ends yet. So we'll see some of that, I think, as we go throughout this week as well. We're also getting ready to head into a Mercury retrograde, Pluto transition to Aquarius. So this is the week that moves us through and gets us there. If you want even more details and to look through to the end of the year, go to my website, maryleeburnett.com. Click on my articles link, and that will take you to the monthly horoscope for November and December that are out there, the full moon and the new moon articles. We have 3 lunar events here in November, so there is a lot of emotion involved in this month, of course, when the moon's being activated multiple times in that way. So we're not done. We still have work to do, and I'm telling you, 2025 is a huge transition, and I do promise to get that video out to give you that preview, hopefully by this weekend, or I'll do it on the weekend. It'll get out sometime. So that is coming. So with that, though, let us dive in. So a lot of people will have Monday, November 11th off for the holiday. I thought this was kind of fun that as I'm recording this, I've seen the angel number 444, which always means you're being surrounded and protected by the archangels. It's always a beautiful blessing when you have angels surrounding you. So we see that in repeated number patterns. So there's something about this message today that is important, and we are protected as we go through the energy this week. So with that, let's dive right in. You should all know that I use Astro Gold software. And so this is where the breakdown comes from. And if you watched last week, you saw on Sunday, we began this yod. Now, a yod is a difficult transition. It is, sometimes it can be a spiritual calling. Like if you're born with a yod, you have a spiritual calling in your chart. By transit, right, we can experience a moment of calling, that there's work that we need to do. It's difficult work, but once we do it, we feel accomplished in some way. And so especially if you have Scorpio energy at the 20-degree mark, you will feel this calling in a big way. Now, what's of course interesting about this is it is setting us up for the work that we have to do all week that will culminate in some surprise, shocking endings with this opposition to Uranus in Taurus. So the whole week, the sun in Scorpio, death, rebirth, transformation, power, sexuality, right? All of that dark, intense, very sensitive energy is having a light shone on it. Then the sun makes a difficult connection to Chiron in Aries, our self-confidence, our personal wounds, and to Jupiter in Gemini, which is retrograde. So keep in mind, this election is a part of a Jupiter retrograde, right? So there's lessons to learn. This is, spiritual teaching in some way. And so these two combined in a sextile are the way to do the work, to respond to your calling if you have this showing up in your chart in some way. I know I have planets and the South Node right here in these degrees of Scorpio. So in my third house, right, I have a message to share this week. So maybe I'm really going to pour myself into recording the videos and the documents and the articles for 2025, right? Because there's, an important message to get out there, but there's hard work to do it, right? It's just one brief example. Where will it show up for you? Will it even show up, right? I give a yod formation, which is 2 in conjunction with 2 sextiles, a very tight orb, like 1 to 2 degrees, for it to be anything that you'll notice that there's work or that you're called to do something specific based on where this is happening in your chart. So it started on Sunday when the sun was at 19 degrees, of course, and it was exact with this Chiron and Jupiter energy, and both Chiron and Jupiter have now both gone retrograde back into 19 degrees, and the sun is still here at 20. It's still very impactful, right? So that's a part of what we're watching on Monday. The next part is Mercury in Sagittarius, and while we're not very close yet to where Mercury will retrograde, it's always important to pay attention to what's going on as Mercury's moving forward, right? So the events going on as Mercury's moving forward are going to be under review in some way. And when Mercury, which rules communication, learning, teaching, travel, and it can be foreign travel, there can be some difficulty with foreign travel when you have Mercury in Sagittarius squaring to Saturn in Pisces. There's something about boundaries in foreign countries, possibly something about working hard on resolving conflict, maybe in a foreign country, or just a conflict in foreign countries. Just one of the many possibilities that this can show up. But slow down and don't overreact, because a square means confrontation, right? Difficulty. And if you just react, you're going to lash out. And Sagittarius is big, fast moving conflict as well. Now, this could be that this is when the hurricane's going to make landfall on this day on Monday. So again, be prepared. Don't ignore any warnings if this ends up coming towards you. Water, right? And the fact that we have Saturn slowing down to end its retrograding, get ready to move forward again. I feel like that's churning up the waters, right? Well, just like a hurricane would do. So it's definitely making landfall. It's definitely hitting the U.S. and it will disrupt travel. So be careful and plan accordingly, especially if you plan to take vacation anywhere near where the hurricane is supposed to be making landfall, which I think is heading towards Texas, could head towards Florida, we don't know yet, but it's coming. So, and this can be astrologically why. So we see that. And the moon in Pisces, again, is speaking in harmony with Uranus and Taurus. So again, I've really been watching the moon has been very active with Uranus, with that earth and water energy combined over the last 2 that we have had. So definitely things are getting stirred up. This is definitely making landfall and will likely be impactful. This energy that's going to continue for quite a while is Mars in Leo opposing this Pluto in Capricorn energy, which again, now we're down to the last 8 days of Pluto in Capricorn before we transition into Pluto Aquarius, and it's going to stay there permanently. So it's not easy. The final work that we have to do, there's a battle, right? This is, you know, new leadership versus old. This is old power versus youthful, energetic power. These are two leaders in some kind of a conflict that continues, and it will continue and shift. The conflict will slightly shift as we move into Aquarius on the 19th. The other thing that we have happening on Monday, man, it seems like our Mondays are always packed for the last few videos, is Venus will move into the sign of Capricorn. So this is where Venus starts to become more responsible and in her mind, right? Bored because it's so serious and so heavy. But that can help you, right? As far as your finances go, you can work on your budget over the next 3 weeks. You can slow down and pay attention to all the details and the plans that you need to make as far as money goes. Love, right, can be slow and steady, more committed. So for the next 3 weeks, though, Venus energy slows way down and in relationships become much more serious and grounded as Venus moves through the sign of Capricorn. Now, I still think this is something to do with the work of a woman in a government role that is notable over these next 3 weeks as well, which of course we have a lot of transitioning that's going to be happening. So that makes sense. All right. That's Monday. Let's move on to Tuesday. On Tuesday, we have that still difficult conversation with Mercury and Saturn, but of course it was more impactful when it was exact on Monday, and now Tuesday we're starting to see Mercury's moving on. But as Mercury gets closer to where it's going to slow down and go retrograde, which will be next week, it's slowing, right? It's not moving nearly as fast as it's getting ready to make this turn and this change. And whenever that's happening, you just don't want to rush the details because things can get missed if you do. So just continue to watch and keep an eye on that piece. The other thing that we're going to be watching is this inconjunct connection between Venus in Capricorn and then that Mars energy down in Leo. So there's something about clashes between the masculine and the feminine, between women and men, right? Women in leadership roles and this new leader, right? There's some kind of conflict between the two, and it's just odd and it's awkward, and we're all going to be seeing it. Also, over these first few days, when the moon moves through the sign of Aries, we're always more emotional. Emotions are stirred up and more intense. So that is our Tuesday. Then as we move into Wednesday, we're just going to see the same energies going on, except for now, as Venus is moving ahead, this inconjunct between Venus and Mars is more exact. So whatever the conflict, the difficulty with these two people or energies, these two houses in your chart, trying to figure out how to get along, it becomes more intense as we move into Wednesday. Also, you're going to notice each day the sun is moving closer to its opposition to Uranus. And again, that, the sun is stirring things up from the deep, and Uranus is stirring things up in the earth, right? As far as energies go, water and earth are opposing one another. And so this will grow in intensity all week long. So we just, even though we're not quite to the full moon yet, we're paying attention to whatever this struggle is, because it's very noticeable. And with the sun in Scorpio, it's digging up whatever we need to see, right? Whatever's been hidden and beneath the surface, whatever we need to transform. Shifts in power, right? There is an intensity that we're going to feel the whole week. And then Uranus is electricity, a lightning bolt, shaking things up, a fight for freedom, right? There is some kind of a power struggle. The resources, right, are being shooken up with Uranus and Taurus, and the sun in Scorpios, can be spirituality. It can be power itself. So some struggle all week long. Pay attention. And again, I think I mentioned this last week. It was not this current 18-month cycle, but the one previously where we had the nodes go through Taurus and Scorpio. And so to me, it just feels like there's a little bit of unfinished business from that work we did. And there's something that we're being called to take another look at through this struggle and through this full moon, so that we can really bring whatever that storyline was to an end. Okay. Let us move on. There is nothing significant changing on Thursday. So if you follow me, I just focus in on the bold energy lines because those are the ones that are most notable. So we're going to skip right through Thursday so we can spend some time focused on Friday. And of course, this is where we have so much going on. All right. So officially, I'm going to move this as I always do, so that we are aligned with the full moon energy. Which technically will be, here at 23. This is closer. Okay. So we're at 23 degrees of Scorpio with the sun, which is now again opposing the moon. This is what, of course, creates a full moon and brings things to completion. The moon is fully lit, right? It's the most intense moments are those full moon moments, because our emotional self, our ego self of the sun and our emotional self of the moon are facing off. So there is something highlighted from the house where you have the Scorpio energy, and then of course it's shining a light on what you need to complete where you have the moon in Taurus and whatever those houses are for you. So the thing that makes this one a little more crazy than normal is this Uranus energy. So emotionally, when we are connected to Uranus, this can be a week where we have a lot of anxiety. I like to describe Uranus energy as feeling like electricity is running throughout your body. So this is really, really important this week that you ground that energy. If you're feeling all crazy and unsettled and anxious, this is why, right? So you need to ground yourself. I talk to people about doing like standing tree pose, sending the charge down into the earth. Take your socks off, try to touch the bare earth and literally see the electricity running down through your body and charge it into the earth, send it down there. Otherwise, you're going to feel uncomfortable, like you have ants running all over your body because of the connection between these two. And then think about the earth. And this is why I think about tremors, right? Hurricane, right? Just tornadoes, right? All of that gets created by this energy as well, because it's just super unsettled air, right? Static electricity, all those things. So it's intense. So if you have any planets around, 23 degrees, specifically 25, right? Then you're going to feel the pressure, right? More than others would. And if you have this in a difficult situation, as far as like a square to a planet in your chart, then you're going to feel even more pressure. So I said that the election stuff isn't done yet. There is something in both Trump's chart and Putin's chart that creates this T-square of pressure with this full moon. So I don't know if that means we're going to see a clash between these two. Maybe promises were made. I don't know, right? I'm not psychic. I just look at the astrology. But anytime you have a T-square in your chart, there's pressure, right? And Trump has that because he has Mars at 26 degrees of Leo. So it will be interesting to see what kind of pressure is he under. Is there more about the election that is not settled yet, or is it his cabinet members? What's going on? There's got to be something pretty intense, and it can, start at the full moon and then take the next 2 weeks to unfold. So that's one piece to watch and be intrigued by. And then I'll give the breakdown by signs too as we get to this. Where's the surprise going to happen? It could, and people say, is it a good surprise or a bad surprise? I'm like, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is it's a surprise and it's unexpected, right? Uranus is trying to break you free from something. And this ending, this conclusion is what helps you do the breaking free, wherever this is in your chart. The other interesting energy, because there's always more than one, is that Venus energy in Capricorn that I mentioned is also part of a T-square with the nodes. So there's this woman, but I think it's an older woman, a politician maybe, that is under a lot of pressure of some kind, and there's fated work to do, right? So when Venus squares with the South Node in her home sign of Libra, there's something changing for a woman, maybe in a relationship with an older politician. Maybe that's one possibility, right? And the South Node, of course, is something that we have to let go, something from the past that comes up about a relationship. So we could see an important marriage end, for instance, as a result of this pressure. But again, where is this change needed? Where is it that you need to restore balance and let go of your people-pleasing tendencies and choose yourself, right? Because that's been this North Node in Aries energy, is choosing myself, rebuilding my confidence, creating good, healthy boundaries in relationships. So there's something, and it could be money boundaries, right? It's love relationships, it's government structures. There's something involving the feminine and a major conflict that adds to this crazy energy in the other sign that Venus rules. So somehow women, or a very mature woman, right, in an important role, has some kind of surprise ending coming. Now, maybe we already saw it. Somebody said that to me. Did we already just see that for Kamala in the election? I'm like, I'm not convinced. No, maybe it just all happened early. But I don't think so. I think there's more to see. And so we'll see, whatever that is. And individually, we will see. And again, do you have planets? Do you have a rising sign? Do you have a moon at 4 degrees, 4 to 5 degrees? That's starting to get amplified by the nodes. And of course, by this T-square between Venus in Capricorn and the North and South nodes. So it's always about finding balance. Even a full moon is about figuring out how to balance this tension. But it's hard to balance when you're working with Uranus and when you're working with the nodes, right? This work is fated. These are lessons, right? They're predetermined lessons that we may have, but we can't move forward with the North Node until we fully invoke all of the past, right? All of the lessons that we learned in the past and restore the balance. So I think Friday is going to be another surprising day that we can't expect to know what is exactly coming. And then I find it also very intriguing that Mars is having a positive conversation. So there's something about the breakdown of all these structures and all this change, all of this movement that is forcing us to choose what we're passionate about, right? That's Mars in Leo. What are you passionate about? What does your heart want? And how do you go after it? So all this chaos is basically showing you what matters most to you. in life right now? And what are you doing about achieving that? Because you're going to feel a strong motivation to break free from anything that doesn't feel good to you, doesn't make you happy. You're not going to stay stuck anymore. You're moving on. And then December 6th, this Mars energy, this moving on thing that you do, you have to slow down because it's going to go retrograde on December 6th. So nothing is just, oh, we're moving on. Nope. We're going to have to slow down and really think about the changes that we want to make and how we're going to make them and do them thoughtfully and do them in a way that speaks to your heart. So that's all the fun energy that is going on. And of course, I have more of a breakdown in the article, and I'll put the link to that too, so you can delve into maybe some of the other pieces in here as well. But let me give you a quick breakdown on where your surprise could be happening. So I'm going to transition this to, come down here with my cursor, to Aries. So Aries, for you, Taurus is your second house. So that means this is about surprises that involve the money that you make. This could be a shocking end to a job. It could be a surprise bonus, right? Again, is it a good surprise or a bad surprise? All I know is wherever you're feeling constrained with how you make money, something is changing. Wherever you feel constrained to how you feel and value yourself, you want to break free from that. So this is that tower moment that you are breaking free from wherever you're feeling imprisoned, wherever this shows up. So for you, Aries, it's something to do with the money that you make. There's going to be a big change. Then, of course, Taurus, it's in your first house. Hello. This is a big breakthrough for you. This is an aha moment. This is the butterfly breaking through the chrysalis moment. This is the phoenix rising moment. There is something about yourself that you are completing, right? So a beauty transformation, although I strongly discourage any type of procedures during this time, but something that you can easily come back from, a haircut or hair color, right? Change, or changing your clothes and suddenly dressing in bright colors, right? There's just something about yourself that you're tired of and you're going to change in a big significant way. All right. Then we have Geminis. So Geminis, this is energy that for you is going to be happening in your 12th house. So the 12th house is psychological breakthroughs, subconscious breakthroughs. It's also surprises that could involve large institutions that you are a part of. And of course, this is anything that's hidden. It can be hidden enemies. It can be, I look at it as the government is a large institution. Hospitals are large institutions. Prisons, right? So there's something about the 12th house that could really change and shock and surprise you this week. But because it's also the 12th house, you definitely don't see this coming. Keep me posted, Geminis. All right. Then we're going to move here to the sign of Cancer. And Cancer's for this, it's your 11th house. So this could be a friend that surprises you. You could suddenly decide you're leaving your friend group. This could be a surprise from a mentor or a benefactor, right? A financial gift that comes your way. Like I said, they don't all have to be like a bad surprise. It's just something unexpected that is happening, which is ending, which is coming to fulfillment, is in your 11th house. And this, again, like I said, has to do with your friends and the networks that you're a part of, which a lot of times has to do with our work networks as well. So something shocking, surprising is going on. Now you're a sign that is sextile to Taurus. So again, it should be something positive, right? Supportive. Then we have Leos. I'm clicking on this so that I can easily find this. by the way. All right. So Leo, for you, oops, I didn't mean to click twice. Leo, for you, this is your career, right? A goal could be achieved, or a career that you have could suddenly, shockingly come to an end, or there's something that changes about the career. And so this is for Trump. This is where this is happening, is like right in that cusp between his 12th house and his first house. So I think this is something that we will physically see him go through. I'm really fascinated about this one. But from a rising sign perspective, with Leo in your 10th house, this is about your career, right? So with this happening in your career, you could have a career breakthrough. Again, you could have a sudden unexpected career change. You could get a huge bonus, a new job with money that's coming in, right? There's all kinds of positive surprises and breakthroughs that can happen. And of course, endings that could happen in your career. But trust the process, because anything that ends, right? One door closes and another door will open. Be patient, but know that this could feel a little shocking as you go through this transition. All right. Then we have Virgos. And for you Virgos, this will be your 9th house. So spirituality, foreign people, foreign places, foreign travel, growth, expansion, spiritual work, right? That could be really rewarding in some way. If you're a spiritual worker, astrologer, right? Maybe you get some incredible download and it helps you create incredible content, which increases your cash flow, right? Maybe you decide you don't want to do the work anymore and you're going to go travel abroad, right? What's your story going to be, Virgos? Again, it's earth energy. So you're connected to this energy in a positive way. It makes a trine, especially if you're a later degree of Virgo, rising sun or moon. So this is an opportunity that you want to take advantage of, but you got to make the effort. So don't get lost in the shock and awe of it. Pay attention to what's showing up and go after it. And then we have you Libras. And Libra, this for you happens in your 8th house of death and rebirth and transformation and power. And it's money that comes to you from other places unexpectedly. So you could have some kind of an inheritance that comes to you unexpectedly. On the not so good side of that would be like an unexpected tax bill. So make sure you're checking that your payments are going through quarterly. But again, it could be that you've been trying to secure financing for a project and suddenly that comes through for you in an unexpected way, because that's the thing about that Uranus energy. It will be unexpected how this financial opportunity comes for you. Okay. Next is Scorpio. So Scorpios, this is your 7th house, right? And of course the sun's in your sign. You've had this yod all week. There's tension, right? So there's something major changing in the relationship sector in your life. So this can impact your marriage. It can impact your business partnerships. It can impact your very close friendships. There is tension there and something needs to change, right? It's your sign. It's some kind of a death and rebirth as far as your relationships go. So if the power is not in balance, there's something that's going on in your marriage this week that has to change. So there could be surprise ending. There could be surprise marriages, right? Engagements, changes. Something is changing in your relationships in a pretty big way. And there's tension. This is creating the change. All right. Next, we have Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, this is happening for you in your work and your health sector. So again, is there a job that ends? Is there a promotion? Is there something involving your health? Maybe you've been working through something and you're finally at the end of it, right? Maybe you've going through treatment and now miraculously you're healed. It's done. It's over, right? somebody leaves their job and then you're suddenly getting promoted, right? It can be that kind of surprising energy for you as well, Sagittarius. And then we have Capricorn. Okay, this is your fifth house. So there could be surprises involving your children. This could be surprises involving your hobbies, a romantic surprise, right? You might bump into somebody out of the blue and you've been waiting to meet them forever. Now you're like, oh my God, here we are. We've met. So something that you do next Friday, the 15th, could, open up a new hobby for you, surprisingly. You could just meet somebody doing your hobby. Maybe you're taking golf lessons like I am next Friday and you'll have a surprise there. Because my moon's in Capricorn. So here we go. Who knows? All right. So that's Capricorn's fifth house, things that speak to the heart. So there could be breakthroughs involving your heart as well. Then we have Aquarius, and this is happening in your fourth house, which of course is home and family, things that surprise you through your family. It could be a unexpected inheritance involving your family. It could be something unexpected involving your home and your living situation. Somebody could suddenly move in, somebody could suddenly move out, you could be suddenly moving. And then there's something about the move itself, which could be surprising and unexpected, like, say, a hurricane's coming in while you're trying to move, right? So just be prepared, Aquarius, for something crazy if you're planning a move around the full moon. And then last, we have, of course, Pisces. And this for you is happening in your third house. Third house is about your community. It's your siblings. It's your cousins, extended family members. And it can be transportation and travel. So again, if you're somebody who's planning a vacation, plan accordingly and drive really carefully, right? So you have a full moon in your third house of transportation with crazy Uranus energy. Just be very cautious and don't take any big risks as you're traveling. You could have weird things happen to your computer and your phone, right? Unexpected things involving electricity. So, all right, that is a quick rundown. Of course, if you want to know more, schedule a session with me. I have a discounted rate where we just focus in on the lunar events. We can even pull some tarot cards. I'm pretty flexible in my sessions if you come work with me. All right. Whew, crazy. I can't wait to hear all the surprises. I'll keep you posted on mine. And then we're going to move into Saturday. So let me shift this. And on Saturday, that same energy with Venus and the nodes is still happening. So there's still this pressure. So whatever you need to change and shift, this isn't the time where you're going to get to stay and hang on to something, right? Whatever this is, it has to go. Capricorn can be an older person, as I mentioned, that you love. And there's something about them that is changing unexpectedly. Definitely potential there. And then on Saturday is when that opposition between that Uranus and the sun is exact. So this, even though we just had the full moon, now this is like head to head, whatever this power struggle is, we're seeing it build in intensity and it's full on now. So remember, it's about balance and being flexible. And this, literally, I always say it's Taurus energy is about the material things. And that Scorpio energy is about the spiritual, right? The feelings, right? It's tangible. The five senses is Taurus, and Scorpio is not things that you can touch or feel, right? It's an experience. So it's very interesting opposition, but there's something still shocking that's going on through the weekend because of this energy, and it's faded, right? Anytime we got the nodes involved, it's faded. Then we are going to finish the week off. And here we have Mercury in Sagittarius. It will go retrograde, I believe, at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. But it's opposing Jupiter. This is an exchange because these planets are in each other's signs. So there's an exchange of information that is really important. The dialogue on Sunday is extremely important. While there is tension, the talks are critical to growth. And even the moon will be in there. So there's something we're feeling extremely emotional about in this conflict, in this big change that's, trying to move us forward. Lots of information and details that are coming up, major lessons to learn. So there's something really spiritual about this work on Sunday as well. And even the sun, while it's opposing that Uranus energy, is, speaking of spirituality, starting to speak in harmony with Neptune, and that will continue into next week. So there's a lot of feeling about the energy on Sunday. Okay? Everybody keeps saying, when's this going to stop? And I keep saying, not yet. We still have a lot of work to do. And I didn't even mention on the full moon is when Saturn stations to go direct. So here we are on Sunday. There's Saturn. And it has said, did you do the work? Did you create the boundaries? Did you create the structures? What do they look like? It's Pisces. Is it structures involving your health? Is it structures involving religion? Is it your creativity, your arts? Is it healthy boundaries? Which is, I'm telling you, that's the number one thing that we've been working on. And now, if you did the work, you're going to start to see the rewards come in. And of course, Saturn's going to keep moving forward. And next year, we're going to see it dip into the sign of Aries before it will dip back again into Pisces. So we have a lot of things shifting next year. So we'll talk more about that later. Otherwise, I'll start going down a rabbit hole and we'll be here forever. And I want to respect your time. All right. So next week, as we look at the week, we are going to see on Tuesday the big moment, the coming back to whatever we started last January through March when Pluto was going for the first time, giving us a preview of the work coming up for the next 20 years. We're back to it. And of course, 0 degrees is a reset moment. So there's a difference, right? Capricorn, older structures, religion, governments, right? Overhead and power to governments. And then in Aquarius, it's, we're talking about power to the people, being connected, finding our tribe, networking, ingenuity, right? This is, of course, ruled by Uranus and Pluto's rebirth, transformation. It is a crisis that we recover from and become stronger as a result of. Do we have a crisis for the next 20 years? No, of course not. But when Pluto first went into Capricorn, we had the financial crisis, right? And at 29 degrees, we've supposed to have worked through it all. Now, is there a crisis about this Aquarius innovation that we have to see in order to start doing the work? See how disconnected we've become and figure out how we're going to reconnect again. So that will go on. And then now the opposition between that Pluto and Mars energy shifts a bit, right? Mars, of course, is in Leo, but now the tension moves out of the older government into this computer nerd, right? This is Pluto in Aquarius. So what will the struggle be? I'm sure we'll know. It'll be very interesting. So we'll have more to talk about next week. And as I said, over the weekend, I will also post the video to show all the shifts and changes coming in 2025. And I do have a special out there, which is a 2-hour session where we look at your chart and where all these shifts and changes are going to happen. So you'll want to book those soon. And then I give you a workbook that I fill in the dates for you. And they include the new moons, the full moons, the retrograde planets, what houses are impacted, and a little mini astrology worksheet that says what the planet means, what the house means, So you really have a little self-help guide that you can refer back to for the entire year. So it's a fun 2 hours, but it's a lot. So I just tell you, do it early before the holidays. And you'll probably be glad you did, or whenever you have vacation coming up, so you can just kind of sit and absorb all that information. But I'm telling you, Pluto's changed signs. Saturn, as I mentioned, will move from Pisces into Aries. Neptune will also move from Pisces into Aries, and these two will be conjunct. This starts a 30-year cycle, right? That's how long it takes, about 29, 30 years for Saturn to come back around. And so this reset moment between Saturn and Neptune is important. Then the nodes are shifting in the middle of January into, guess what? More Pisces work. We have so much Pisces work. The last sign, the last house, has a lot of work for us to do. A lot of psychological hidden work. That's going to be, again, we'll talk about it more. And even Uranus will move into Gemini, and Jupiter will move from Gemini into Cancer. That's a lot of shifting and changing in just 1 year, with very big, important outer planets that shape the collective. So, lots to talk about. I look forward to working with you and working through it all and staying hopeful through all of it. No matter what is happening, we are always in control of our reactions to it and what we are willing to learn from it. So don't stop learning and growing, even if it's difficult. We'll get through it together. I'm here to guide you. Hence the guiding light, Astrologer. And I look forward to connecting with you all again next week. Take care, everybody. Be sure and check out your weekly tarot card messages as well. Those, along with this astro lesson, are going to give you the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you next week.